Here. Yeah, I see you right. That was number. On an internal basis anyway. Yeah. Yeah. It's a whole good morning, Shelley. Good morning. Yeah. Yeah, we should. Because they didn't check small. What? The company that did okay.
Altogether. It rains really.
Yes. I was like, well, they don't want deep yet.
Close enough. Close enough for government. I have to reach out to Anna.
So I did
Talk about it today. Big part of strategic plan.
You know,
Nothing is
appreciate anything.
Yeah, but we don't have the cost incurred.
You must have to go outside once in these things.
You know,
Yes, so it's soccer all weekend, so it's probably that, but you're still.
there's gonna be a big Chinese light. And
Coaches did soccer games Saturday and Sunday, to see Mitchell Wilson international.
Yeah.
No sun Saturday, this time, that's anybody else. I was gonna say that's.
and
Well, like,
Our family last Saturday, we got some. Seven.
right.
Yeah. There's a Jackie.
so.
National sports club.
And right when I was lucky, the granddaughters turned on lucky chose me next year. I was helping them.
Yeah.
And there were like 4 or 5 in the each show.
It's wild, it's literally the national sports conference.
Where the soccer fields were. Crazy.
Yeah, very sprawling. Yeah, that place is another level altogether. It is kind of.
I think it probably won't compete with that. Good morning.
No worries.
Good. I'm trying to wear my contacts today and your glasses.
So the wind the last 2 days haven't helped.
I've been wearing glasses.
What's that?
Janesville has a nice football field.
They do that.
They've been great about the
All night. I thought that until about 5 years ago, and then I went.
Yes, they do.
And then I was months ago, I decided I should try to write it again. You know, they're just not the same.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know where they got a bunch of crap on it for that too. But it is very nice. I helped at the very first track meet they had there. And I'm walking behind a couple of coaches going to the lectures. And they're talking to each other and I'm walking behind them. My sister, yeah, I told my kids that if they do really well today, they might get recruited to run here.
Well,
It's like,
you got,
yeah, is that nice?
That's Asbury Fig Farmers.
that was that Angie. Yeah.
This is a peanut butter chocolate chip. This chocolate chip.
I got choice.
There you go. Yeah, man, that's a piece.
No.
Perfect.
They were doing great. It looks too good. I'll shoot them.
Yeah. Mini fruit bar, there's not enough ingredients in there.
Yeah.
Just apples and strawberries.
Probably throw that out right field and still be there next year.
Yeah, so we'll see.
Possible.
So that was a picture of their father from the field. And then about things got to wait a year to.
What was that?
Your strategic plan.
Yeah.
What are they?
Yeah, you noticed the subtle implication there. I didn't even pick it. I mean, it's just.
I looked at it and work.
Procedure.
Yeah. And they tried to zoom in really close. Must have just.
Yeah, they picked all the right flipper.
How's your new day?
Yeah.
You know, one of the customers said, he's like, this, it doesn't take so long to get on the milk.
Yeah.
And it seems we somebody said you would have a 2 hour meeting. And so. We have full event to people absent. So I want that.
Good.
Yeah. Just like 2 weeks and one chair asked me. Yeah. Well. Gotta go. Good man. And I think that at some point you can. Oh, and that's.
That's right.
That's right. But for you guys to respond. Yeah. So I put it on.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. You were thinking about you.
I'll just, all right, we got a lot of stuff to do. Thanks for your patience, everybody. Stand and silence yourself once and stand for the president. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome one and all. I know we got plenty to do here. And nobody else has run into it, and I can figure it out. Michael, get us going.
Why not? Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, commissioners. So a reminder, it's the first day of pilot. That should pertain to you. That's all I'll say on that. Until I bring it up again later. And today we are going to be talking about some strategic plan documentation as well as a kind of first read through review of operating guidelines. We did that one up a few weeks ago, and we'll get into that in just a little while. But sticking to the order as presented on your agenda, this is a document you're all familiar with. Seen it a few times. And is a product of your own participation and labors as well from a meeting with department heads earlier this year. So where I do not intend to walk through each of these things line by line and word for word, it's helpful, I guess, to at least know the path we are heading. But the bulk of this effort and the product before you is ultimately trying to identify what are some of the key themes that are happening within the county. They spent a lot of time, and by they, I mean David Drown and Associates, who facilitated this planning session for us far in that particular forum, celebrating some of the wins over the last year or couple of years, and ultimately looking for some opportunities for improvement where we can strengthen some of these service deliveries. And then when we drill down really far and skipping ahead, how do we capture all of this into a succinct plan that puts us in the right direction taking all of this information to heart and processing and using it as a framework with some guideposts for the following years. We're in the middle of a year. Typically, we would look at strategic plans in 3 to 5 year windows. I think there is plenty enough going on where 3 years is appropriate. And that is what I will ultimately be recommending to you. And really, in earnest, it's, or in actuality, it's 2.5 years because we're in the middle of 2026 almost, which seems kind of crazy. But here we are living it, and this will take us through the end of 2028. It makes sense for a few reasons. A large part of that making sense. Nice green tractor there, Commissioner Krause. Comes or
The only thing that's wrong with this.
yeah, I did not pick any of the clip art. It just came naturally to whoever was putting this document together. But the Waseca County Judicial Center was a recurring component that was brought up in this conversation. And that has a strong emphasis over the next 3 years of the planning process. Before I go through in earnest here, I guess I'd actually put it back to the commissioners and ask, within this DDA document, is there anything in particular you want to park on or explore a little deeper before we dive into what it means for Waseca County? Or I should say, any takeaways from that actual planning session as a whole.
I appreciated the process they took us through and the homework done ahead of time with staff so that the time we spent together, I felt was very well used. It is obvious that we have done a lot of things in the last 5 years to move the county forward in operations. It's also very obvious that we have a lot of things to do in the next 3 to 5 years. There's just looking at our workforce and how folks are retiring, and we'll have to reskill and look at how we are arranged so that we can be efficient, so that we can use technology to the best advantage as it continues to improve for us. There's a lot of opportunities for even a small county like Waseca to really thrive and do some great things. And we've been doing great things. And we have a lot of staff who are excited about doing even better things in the future. So that was super exciting to see their enthusiasm too. It's easy for me to get enthused about stuff.
Sure, that's all. Yeah, what's important in any strategic planning process is, kind of the representative democracy, if you will, of the tasks being done. The danger in a strategic plan is that it just becomes an echo chamber of the same ideas and the same thoughts. And there is an opportunity for pushback. There is an opportunity for criticism and refinement that is a natural byproduct of some of those needed criticisms. So it was good to have some open and honest conversations at times as far as where are the blind spots, and sometimes you need somebody else to point those out for you as they aren't very obvious to the individual being questioned. So that was a good opportunity as well too. And of course, we frame those up more so as opportunities, not relative weaknesses, because everything we do, I think we're doing well, but that does not mean we can't do it better than we are presently doing it. So the bulk of this is, okay, how do you take these hundreds of bullet points throughout this document and consolidate it in a way that is tangible, readable, understandable, allows us to move forward with the semblance of a plan that we can communicate both to staff and to the broader public. So as you saw Last week, I sent out staff-wide email that forewarned, but made aware of this meeting this morning, this effort by yourselves to step through this process. And I have a virtual meeting with all staff over the lunch hour tomorrow to walk through some of the same elements. Just here's what the board talked about. Here's what was explored. Here's what some of that your department leadership uncovered and how they participated in the conversation. And ultimately, here's the end result of what all of that looks like. And, I mentioned the dangers of the strategic planning process a few minutes ago. Another danger is that ultimately this plan gets done, we pat ourselves on the back and say, great job, and then it sits on a shelf for 3 years and we never talk about it again. So this is something that needs to be in front of all of us, really on a recurring basis, and needs to drive the bulk of the decision-making process going forward. And that you will see in some of the Waseca County specific strategic planning document in terms of how do we see this? How is it represented? How is it obvious to us that we're trying to fulfill the key tenets or priorities of the strategic plan in each individual request for board action that comes before you? How is each individual RBA fulfilling one of these priorities? How is it meeting one of the goals? How is it playing into the strategies that achieve the goals that fulfill the priorities? And we should have this perpetual marriage of all of the work that is done within the county that ties back up to these priorities that we will define today. So in the rest of the time in this process, I'd like some feedback and refinement from your own perspectives from the Waseca County specific document. And if you decide, no, it's perfect how it is, it's not like I can argue with you, but still, this is an opportunity to say not bad and just kind of step through it. So I'm not going to spend more time in the DDA document unless you want to, and we can come back to it. But the DDA document is kind of the launching point of this in a very consolidated format. So the framework, and I just kind of spelled it out very clearly, I hope, exactly what's going on in this document. So again, this is intended also to be a public-facing document, very readable. So we're just telling people exactly what's happening here. The framework that we're taking is a hierarchy of priorities, goals, and strategies. Here are the top 3 priorities that we take from that 20+ pages of DDA note taking and framework and etc. And then here are here's our 3 goals for each one of those priorities that we can extrapolate and take away. And then here are the strategies. Here's how we get the goals done. Here's how we accomplish the goals. And the difference between priorities and goals and strategies is that goals and strategies are a little bit more fluid, they're a little bit more evolving, because a lot can happen in 3 years. As Commissioner Malter stated before, we've done a lot over the last 5, we've got to do a lot more over the next 5, and a lot happens seemingly overnight at our conclusion of the legislative session on Sunday. I mean, those things change how we prioritize. Those things now refine the goals and adjust the strategies to achieve the goals to work within the priorities. So it has to be fluid, it has to be evolving and living, and it is, but that is intended to happen in the goals and the strategy level, not necessarily the priorities. So backing up priorities, what are the 3 that I'm suggesting? Typically, I'll say what I would typically like to avoid is not highlighting one thing, one project in a county priority. This is unique because of the significance of what the Justice Center is and the significance of the timing that we're working within. So typically, in my own mind, I would criticize this, just so you're aware, and say, well, we're not going to call it a specific project. That's too specific. And it is. But county infrastructure modernization captures the rest of that intent that we saw in that strategic planning process and heard in the strategic planning process. So I throw that out there to say, if you don't like it, you can move it. But the 2026 to 2028 timeframe is critical, specifically for the judicial center. That's what it's in there. If you don't like it, we can talk about it. That second point, workforce excellence and organizational leadership, very clear themes, as well as service excellence, communication, and public trust, and we'll drill into what some of those mean and how to get there as well. Questions yet? So, as I just described, each of the strategic priorities has 3 goals that align directly with the priorities and provide a roadmap for succinct description of the priorities in one sentence. So basically, we're trying to be very clear. It's not a paragraph for every goal we're trying to achieve. Here's what it is. Like, just drilling down further and further. Here's what it is, and here's how we get there. That's what we're looking at with our goals and strategies. So in picture form, from a hierarchical standpoint, when we start to drill down into priority number 1, which we know is Justice Center and County Infrastructure Modernization, we have our 3 goals, our 3 tenets kind of in there. Complete the new Justice Center on time and within budget. How do we do that? Well, there's a variety of strategies leading to how we can do that. Goal 2, modernize county facilities and infrastructure. 5 different strategies below that. And will these strategies change and adjust over the life of this document? Almost certainly. We may achieve, strategy 3 by the end of 2026, just as an example. In this case, we won't, but we may achieve one of these things well before the completion of 2028. And it is perfectly viable to come back and say, sweet, done, check it off. And actually now this is a strategy we have to implement because something changed. And the world isn't sitting still around us, just because we created a plan at a point in time. Saying it's only good for right now. And as best as we can see in our magical crystal ball going through time. And after that, we'll have to address yes, ma'am.
And right along that vein, I do have a question.
Yeah.
Is this something that we're going to go back to annually and say, where are we? I mean, I know that from the administrative end, you're going to be looking at it consistently and saying, where are we? Where are we? But us as a board, are we going to come back to this and maybe update it annually until it's time to look at the whole picture again? Is that the plan going forward?
Let's skip ahead to the last page quick.
There you go.
Ooh, too much. Yeah, and it's a great question and an essential one. So by the end of this, and as a byproduct of the strategic plan, what I'm really asking the county board to commit to are these action items. Okay. And one of those action items is update or hold periodic staff meetings, and then timely projects, brief the board on status of goals, updates as needed, annual formal review with the board, update all information as needed. So ultimately, this will be nested as I see it within your January meeting,
okay,
as will your board operating guidelines. I'm not asking you to vote on board operating guidelines today. That'll just kind of be a first read through, as I mentioned, but that would be how I picture it. That first meeting of the year, setting the tone for the year. Here's where our plan's at. Here, okay, let's go back. Let's celebrate the wins that we've had. Where are the check marks on the strategies and the goals? Do we need to add any? Do we need to change any? And that'll all be something presented to you specific to that meeting and specific to that timing. Yeah, so good question. Moving on to priority 2, workforce excellence and organizational leadership. You could go, just to make the point, you could certainly drill down even further into each one of these. Each strategy could have an offshoot of 5 or 6 things itself too. So it's always a battle of brevity, and consumability versus, every letter or every word you could add to this thing. But within workforce excellence and organizational leadership, I'd like to strengthen recruitment, retention, and succession planning. I'm sure Walter rightly pointed out some retirements, not maybe staring at this. Remember that. I think that's where I saw your eyes go. But necessary for succession planning and modeling as a whole, of course. Building leadership and professional development capacity, something we're ever aware of and the strides have been taken in these worlds, but we want to capture it, we want to codify it, we want to say this is something we want to prioritize. This is a goal under our workforce excellence and organizational leadership model. And we want to make decisions ultimately to empower staff to make decisions that fulfill these things. Strengthen workplace culture and employee engagement. Part of the virtual meeting tomorrow and the series of virtual meetings as we move forward is to try to continue to build that engagement. We've done that with a county newsletter in the last year, which has been helpful to capture the whirlwind of information that happens. Even in a small county, there's a million different things going on always. And when you're in the midst of it, you don't necessarily know what's happening outside your four walls. So it's helpful to come up for air on occasion and say, oh, that office is working on this, and I didn't even know it was happening, and it was right down the hall. That happens all the time. So strategies within each of those as well too. I can read them all individually, but I don't think that's necessary. Yeah.
One that kind of caught my eye and I wondered about was promote Waseca County as an employer of choice.
Sure.
I struggle a little bit with that one because I don't think, we employ enough people to do the jobs we need to do for the communities. We don't want to be, we're not in the business of employing people, we're in the business of serving people. And I want this to be a good place to work, but I don't want it to be so good that it's pulling people away from the private sector that want to come here instead of another job. You know what I mean? We shouldn't be competing with the private sector for jobs. We need employees to do the work we need to do. But that whole employer of choice, I don't know.
I'm gonna push back a little bit, only because I think from what I hear, both at AMC and at NACO, is counties are getting beat up by the private sector on workforce right now. That is not an issue that we, at least at this time, finding people who want to work in public service, and all our employees work in public service. Even if they're painting the walls in the courthouse, they are in public service. They are caring for public buildings. Just wage-wise, the private sector leads public sector right, left, and center on that. I view this as, we want the culture here to be innovative. People have a chance to grow in their career. They have a chance to advance in their career, and they have a chance to serve their own community here. And that, to me, that means that they would choose to be here and choose to be in public service, and that this would be a good and fair place to work. Because we also don't want them to have to be in the poorhouse to work for us. It's like, we don't want to be the last resort for the job somebody takes. We want to have a lot of good candidates.
We can't be the last choice, obviously, but it was just one of those bullet points that I kind of stopped and think about.
I absolutely agree that we don't want to grow our workforce.
Yeah.
Like, we're not here to make sure everybody's employed. For sure. We're not adding jobs just to make sure people have jobs. We have always been lean on staff. We do a lot with the folks we have. And I don't see this statement changing that.
Yeah, that's great feedback, and I'll explain it a little bit more from my perspective, what I mean by an employer of choice. And an employer of choice does not equate to dollar signs per se. Okay, so it's not, we need to pay a premium to ensure that we have the best possible person in the position. An employer of choice ultimately understands the culture that they are in and can communicate that culture effectively in a way that creates buy-in, in a way that creates accountability and responsibility, and is attractive to the individuals. So an employer of choice is equally as important in recruiting as it is in retaining. So it's equally as important as it models succession planning, which is that goal above it. If I have a qualified applicant within the office and I know somebody is going to be leaving, then I certainly hope that throughout the course of their career, we have been intentional enough to give them the knowledge, skills, and abilities and tools to develop into that next leader. And if we haven't done that, we're not an employer of choice because we have chosen not to develop the resources and utilize the tools that we have in order to have a successful transition plan. So when I say employer of choice, I do not immediately mean we have to pay the most, we have to have the most comprehensive benefits package, we have to poach the best candidates and qualified applicants from every other private industry or sector. We certainly want good people working for us. I'll say that all day, right? But that does not always mean on paper the most qualified person. It means the right person, the best fit for that position. And we are very intentional about that in our recruitment process right now, that sometimes it's necessary to have a degree to, be a necessary box to check or a hurdle to overcome. Sometimes it is. Our law enforcement officers don't have choice to whether or not they're going to get a post certification. That's what the law is. So there's some discretion we have to have, and there's some discretion we get to have. And when we get to have it, that's why we have those interview processes. And sometimes we make the, on paper, illogical choice. On paper, I was probably the illogical choice when you hired me, based upon the pool of applicants you had. I won't ask you how that's worked out, but with that unasked by implication. But we talk about career growth and career path development. We talk about things like work-life balance. We talk about empathetic leadership. Those are all things that go into employers of choice. It's not just, we're going to pay you the most so that we get to hire you and they don't. So hopefully that helps a little bit.
Yeah. Sure.
Absolutely.
Goal 2, possibly like strategy 4 or any number of those in goal 2. How do you integrate that into someone's job description?
The cross-department collaboration.
Right. And yeah, the cross training, collaboration, expand mentorship and coaching programs. Nowadays you hear a lot about my job description.
Yeah, and also a good question. And I also argue that if you're hearing that question, there's already a culture issue that you're trying to navigate through. So again, I'll come all the way back up to culture. You can't be an employer of choice unless if you're only relying on the buzzwords on the wall, you're fooling yourself. If you don't understand the culture and try to impart that vision and adapt at times to what the culture is, then you're going to struggle. So most times we have flexibility within job descriptions to do those things already. And if that really was just a hard stop, we can't ask this person to do this because of this, then we would adjust accordingly. And I can't think of an example off the top of my head where we just have had to say, well, I guess we can't help this department because this person doesn't want to. Typically, we have a solution to that, but I would still want that to be the expectation. I would still want to pointedly say that when we hire you or retain you, that we want you to be collaborative. We want you to be interdepartmental in your thought and your action, so that it isn't a surprise when it's election season and Tammy has to pull 2 or 3 bodies to assist. Typically, we already exhibit that. We heard that a lot in our strategic planning session. There is a lot of interdepartment collaboration that already happens. So we don't want to lose that, but we also want to codify it, if you will, that this is an expectation. So that's why it's a strategy and not a goal or a priority. But the strategy certainly should be, here's where we're going to continue to steer you by writing it down and pointing at it. And if somebody poses the question like, well, why are you asking me to do this? Well, here's one of the strategies we adopted, and here's the goal that it filters into under the priority that it ultimately lends to and shapes the service delivery that we do. You know, practically to your point, we will have to shake a few things up, looking through some of the transitional elements, and that's normal. That's not a bad thing. That's not a scary thing. It feels scary at certain points of time to certain people, but it's not. It's a healthy thing. Because if we assume that how we did something 5 years ago is the best way to do it today, we're already behind. And that's probably even 3 years ago or 2 years ago. There isn't any one of us whose job looks the same as it did 3, 5, 10 years ago as it does today. Any other questions on this one? And ultimately, this is your document, by the way. I'll tell you why I have them on there, but ultimately, if you don't want them on there, you're not going to hurt my feelings, just to clarify. Priority 3, we talk about service excellence, communication, and public trust. How do we get there? Deliver consistent, high-quality public service, improve county communication and transparency, increase public confidence and community engagement. Again, emphasizing some of the upcoming meetings and opportunities for some of these to happen in real time as it pertains to the Waseca Center. A couple of open houses in the month of June. And I want to say it's the 17th. I should have pulled that date up in front of me again, but yeah, the 17th. And it's, I think, 10 o'clock in the morning and 6:30 p.m. as well. Just this is an opportunity for people to come in and chat about capital improvement planning, about the Justice Center, look at some pictures, look at some floor plans, ask some questions, and just talk through it. So, you know, that's just one piece. That thing in and of itself is not good for us. Community engagement happened. It's just one piece, one example. Community engagement is a vast thing in and of itself. We talked about that a couple of weeks ago, some of the practical elements with Facebook communication, with trying to direct market a little better to people and make them aware, tied back to some of the actions being taken by yourselves at the board of commissioner level with here's what the board did. And you know, ultimately it's a pretty big process, and that one in and of itself is a lofty goal, I guess I would say. It's not a small thing, but it's a good thing. It's something we need to do. Kind of communication and transparency ties somewhat into that, but specifically utilizing tools like ClearGov, as we will, for a budget transparency, for a strategic planning tool that is a public-facing portal where, you know, what you determine today and arrive today will be captured in a digital way, a digital format that can be communicated on the website. It's not just a PDF we throw on the website and hope somebody comes across it. It's what we're pushing them towards. Here's our portal. Here's our platform. Here's how the county's doing. So they get to see a real-time infographic of here's this goal, and we're 30% of the way, and we're 30% of the way because we've achieved 1.5 of the strategies that are underneath it. So it's kind of a real-time look at some of these priorities, and it answers the question organically as far as why do you do what you do? Why do you make the decisions that you make? Well, here's why. Here's the priority it ties to. Here's the goal it fulfills, and here's the strategy we utilize to get there. So it answers all of those questions and ultimately pulls people in a more meaningful and direct way, intentional way. Questions on this one?
Sir?
This one is, definitely the one that probably got the most talk at the strategic planning, or,
Sure.
the strategic day, that planning day was very positive. But it was kind of overarching that this was the one that could be improved. Communication, public trust, that type of thing. Do you think it matters? And I'm asking the rest of the board, and does it matter what order these priorities are in? 1, 2, or 3?
Sure.
Because in my mind, 3 is probably at the closer to the top than 2. But I don't know if that matters how they're listed. They are our top 3 priorities, and we're gonna take them. But I definitely think this number 3 is the one that we definitely have some room for improvement on. Just going by what happened that day. So it's more of a comment than a question, I guess.
I can see you think they go ahead.
I think on that, I agree with that, but I think we have to have the stretch number 1 or under goal 2, that number 1, to develop that communication plan. And then we can add goal 3 into that. That plan has to be set so we know how to get by and get our people to engage with us and let them know what's happening.
Sure. Okay.
That's why I really push for having somebody that handles that updates, communication on the websites, Facebook, whatever we're having to utilize. Clear, is that what you call it?
Clear go.
Click up, make sure that we're on that.
Sure.
It seems to me that, and I appreciate this discussion. We know that public trust in institutions is kind of like at an all-time low. We know that that's the case. And so this is a, I agree, an absolutely essential, and like, wouldn't life be easier if this thing all happened? And so I think we can order these in order of priority or in order of immediacy. The judicial center, like, that's right in front of us. We've been working hard. There's things that are going to happen here shortly. That is a big thing right in front of us right now this year. This is going to be something that the next strategic plan, this is going to be on too. There is no doubt, because you can never do communication well enough. You can never serve well enough. That is always not just a practical goal. How are we doing this piece? But it's also always aspirational, because our communication methods are going to continue to evolve. Think about how much differently we do this now than we did 10 years ago. I think it's a difference between what it absolutely we need to do this, and this is going to be a forever goal, and what's staring down us right now with, we're going to have to build some stuff and move some people and rearrange how we do some work. And so I don't have a preference necessarily, but I see where you're coming.
Yeah, well, and I'm glad you mentioned that, Commissioner Malter, and I meant to say the same, that, in 2028, as we're going into 2029, I ask you to revisit. It's not required to have 3 complete priorities. They may not change at all. Maybe you change a word or 2, but I wholeheartedly agree, we will never lose the priority of service excellence, communication, and public trust. Those will always be key components of what we do because we're a service entity. And they should always be the forefront of our mind and a key driver of why we do what we do. The only other thing I was going to mention is we're bandied back and forth. Goal 2 and strategy 1 could flip flop. I mean, you could move develop countywide communication plan as the goal. Here are the strategies to achieve it. But as I went back and forth on that one, it does seem to be more of a strategy for achieving overall improved communication and transparency. But it is certainly a key strategy in fulfilling that.
Before you post this, I think you should look at that word modernization.
I spell some of them.
Priority 1.
Yes,
Probably.
I don't think that A is supposed to be.
no.
So now look at that. It's a Spanish film. Yeah, thanks.
Way to go, dude.
Were there other questions on priority 3, Bill?
I just have one comment. I think you mentioned distrust everywhere. I don't think at our level, there's that much distrust.
I think we're very fortunate.
And I think we, as commissioners, we engage our public a lot more. And able to, if there is something going on, we can address that with them directly. You know, my 5-minute run to Walmart takes me 45 minutes to clarify certain things with individuals that I come across, but I think the distrust is not at our level.
I would say we are very fortunate in Waseca County that our constituents by and large know us and aren't afraid to stop us in Walmart or give us a call or send us an email. But there is a lot of distrust out there, and a lot of counties, even counties our size, are struggling with how to interact with the public in positive ways, because in a lot of places, the public is really mad. And I'm sitting on the AMC board, hearing stories there from going to NACO. We are so fortunate here. I go there and I say, "Oh, I think we'll just do this," you know, talking about something we're doing here on the board, and they'll go, "You're just going to do that?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm pretty sure we will. We'll see what the rest of the board says, but I think we've listened to enough people, and I think they trust us." And they look at me and are just amazed. We are very fortunate here, and we want to continue to improve that transparency. We want people to feel like they have a voice here. It helps to be small, for sure. But it can go off the rails anyways. And we don't want it to.
Sure.
Yes, sir.
I don't think I would use distrust as much as questionability. When they're seeing, when they're seeing the taxes, how they are right now, it's more of a question of watching the news and trying to associate it at their level where we're at here.
Mhm.
So I don't think it's distrust. I just think it's questionability on where the money goes.
And we want to be clear about that and transparent. We want people to know what their taxes are paid for.
Yeah, good way to reframe it. And distrust is often a product of lack of access, right, and lack of accountability. So if we engage, right, these goals, if we welcome them in, we welcome the questions, say the trust but verify piece. Right? We want you to verify, we want you to question, because ultimately we should have an answer. We should know what we're doing. You might not agree with the logic, and that's okay too, but you can also respect the fact that there is some there's a path, and ultimately that's what this whole document is, right? It's the path. It allows you to point back and say, well, here's why we're doing what we're doing. This is the time and effort, resources we invested in this to figure out why do we do what we do. That's why it's important as we move on and how we tie this together to the practical action to bring this front and center from a RBA standpoint, from a request for board action standpoint. So you as the individuals that have to make the decisions when the department head puts something before you and says, I want to do this and here's why, you should see the natural tie and say, oh, ties into this and this, and that's why they're asking. So it allows you to have pushback as well. So, well, this isn't within the body of our strategic plan. Why the heck are we looking at this?
I want to draw you back to priority 3, goal 2. You talked about the possibility of flipping the goal in the first strategy, and as I looked at it, I just said, I don't think that ought to happen because improve isn't measurable.
Yeah.
But develop is.
Yes, exactly. Yep, agreed. And that's ultimately where I landed, but just recognizing that this feels big enough to be a goal, right? It's a more like communication plan, but in reality, to me, it's a strategy. Yeah, good point. So the value, we touched on this a lot already, but I just kind of captured 4 primary values being realized here in the strategic plan itself. And as I was just articulating, it's a decision-making tool. It's assisting us ideally in whatever we're doing to the policy level as well. It's a leadership tool, it's a management tool, and it's a communication tool. Now, looking at some implementation steps, I guess I felt the need that everything needed to have a itemized list as I move forward, but sometimes it's a little bit more consumable. Don't need to read all of these verbatim again, because like I said, we've covered it, but just in terms of the implementation steps, knowledge and awareness, that's, we need to educate people, we need to inform people that this is the document that's kind of driving a lot of the decision-making process. We need to recognize and implement a successful strategic plan with full team effort. Again, you got to pull people in. This isn't something that just the board has to do. This isn't something that just administration needs to talk about. This is complete organizational buy-in and direction for why we are going to be doing what we're doing. And then we have to hold ourselves accountable. We have to come back every year. We have to talk about what was achieved, what wasn't achieved, and why. And how do we do better at it? Or are the strategies right or wrong? Do we need to change them so that we can successfully fulfill that goal? And then ultimately, as I skipped ahead before, talking about some of the action items, because it's important certainly for the board to be supportive of this document and supportive of this process, which you certainly have leading up to this point as well. But as we move forward, there's just kind of 10 very practical things, action items, and I captured these within the actual resolution as well that I'll show you in a minute for consideration at your meeting later. But it's just kind of practical steps. So here's some very quick, not necessarily quick and easy things, but easy in the grand scheme of things to make sure that this isn't a document that just gets set in the shelf and forgotten. And we can make sure it's living and breathing, and we can bring it back and polish and refine and adjust as needed and necessary. Any questions on that?
Is there a place where you would, a time of year where you would look at doing this? To refine it or say, what have we accomplished over the year? I mean, would you do it through taxation? Would you do it at, that's just my question.
Yeah, that's one of the natural spots for sure that's popped into my head. And some of that I would lean on your preference. I would like, so that first meeting of the year, already kind of a clogged agenda. So it may be more tenable to have a report and that captures all of that, and we don't necessarily touch it that day, but we come back that second meeting in January. It'd be a work session and a board adoption of that year's priorities. We do the same thing in December, though. And I think my preference, given one, would be the December path, where as of that first meeting in December, here's where we're at, here's the pulse check, and here's what staff are recommending for adoption of the plan in 2027 or 2028, what have you. And then we don't have to have this all out discussion presentation that first meeting in January, because you've already seen it and heard it. codified in your mind that this is the direction you'd like to go. So really either side of that first meeting of the year window works. It's just kind of your preference.
Chair, a question on that, when we have that, would it be beneficial to have it prior to budget session to see where we're sitting? Or at the end of the session, to see where we need to improve? We need to step on like that or not, or we can reduce.
I think it is helpful, and that's why I suggested the first meeting of December, because it's prior to your adoption of the final levy. So your next meeting is the adoption of the actual budget for the following year. So yeah, exactly. I totally agree with that mentality. That's why I think that you wouldn't necessarily want the full presentation at that truth and taxation meeting, but you want some tie to it.
Yeah, so you can say, this is why we're doing this.
Yeah, exactly.
I get that.
I think that makes sense for us to do it, particularly this year, because we're already in May. And so we get to that first meeting in December this year, and we're gonna take a look at this in addition to the budget that lies next to it for 2027, and be able to see those line up. And I'm one of the reasons why I'm anxious that we move this ahead. If we can come to agreement on that, is because this puts it in front of the staff so they have 6 months to work on it. And to put it into live practice, keeping in mind that as they're doing their departmental budget development, they are looking at the strategic plan and saying, how does this fit into that strategic plan that I have input in and that the commissioners have put into place for us? And so that does seem like a natural kind of spot, at least this first year. And if there's going to be a learning curve for all our staff, and not that they don't already have strong goals, but to align those goals and put it alongside this is going to be a new process for everybody. So this is going to be the practice year, and it's a half a year, and we get to try it, and then we go, oh, that worked really great, or oh, we could do that different, or maybe we got to do an update twice a year. Maybe we do one as budget session begins, as budgeting begins, and then maybe we do another one when we're getting ready to actually designate the money.
Yes, and the other thing I'll mention on that is ClearGov helps with that process, because it's easy enough to just pull it up in real time. You know, here's this goal, it's at 30%, like I mentioned before. Why is it at 30%? Well, it's done. And some of that stuff is pushed to the departments themselves, right? It's me assigning Tammy, she's sitting here. Here are the 3 things that you need to accomplish over this time period. And then we can see in real time where those are at in their various stages of completion. So it is important for it to be ever present and available, and not just, well, we'll see you in 12 months and hope for the best. Right? That's not the path we want to take.
Chair.
Yes, sir.
We just, a lot of our supervisors and leaders were at this planning committee, and it's getting staff below them to engage in this. That's the leadership issue that needs to be resolved or taken care of on their end, to make sure that staff is on board with this, because you're going to have a couple of naysayers, always do, but
Sure.
try to get them involved and they can work on it as well. That if we can get all staff involved in this, I think we can move ahead a little bit better.
Absolutely.
Agreed.
Anything else? Other questions for Michael on this? If not, let's move on to operating guidelines, because we're already at 9 o'clock here. Just about.
Sounds great. My little image went, that was weird. As we discussed a month or so ago, with conversations with Commissioner Walter about wanting to get some operation guidelines in place for your consideration. And the timing of this is important as well too, but the document itself and I think the exercise is really important. Is it further clarifies, and it's really tied to the strategic plan in a way, but it really clarifies why you do what you do at these meetings specifically, and even outside of these meetings. So it's not a document that is intended to put you in a box, but in some way, shape, or form, it puts up guardrails and it defines, here's how county government is supposed to function, both statutorily and as you devise practically. So this, as I said, is kind of a first read through. You have it in your inbox. You have the chance to go through and mark up what you like, what you don't like, what you want to talk about further. We'll bring that back at a future work session. But fortunately, Melissa reminded me that as we're going through policies a year plus ago, that this was already drafted and already forgotten about it. So thank you for that reminder. For the working to get assembled as we go. But there's a lot here. So this is going to be a comprehensive review, especially in 25 minutes. It's just going to be a quick step through, and we can answer a couple of questions that you may have immediately, just in terms of labels and sections and why is it called that and why do we care? So it is not intended to be a full comprehensive or exhaustive list of every single thing you do in your role as a commissioner, because that document would be even significantly longer than this one. And this one's already pretty long. So, but it is really helpful when you get into the why we do what we do. When people come and engage us and make certain requests, here's why we take them on or why we don't. And here's the statutory rules and regs pieces we can lean on for, like again, we do. So that's really what this overview starts with. What's the statutory framework? What powers do you have as defined by Minnesota law? And then, kind of here's the framework of why the rest of this document exists, built upon that foundation. But yeah.
To keep pointing out grammatical errors.
I saw too.
I sent,
I see.
I sent you coming.
Yeah.
I
Gotcha.
can tell we had a model, and that's okay. There's no sense in starting from
So
something.
I consider that you getting this pretty.
Yeah, saw it too. Thanks.
Okay.
The highlighted data in here, it's just a suggestion. That can easily change. Not saying it has to be done by that date, but eventually there has to be a date. So if we have a target to work towards, that's kind of where my mind is going. It gives you a couple more meetings to consider and revisit via work session and refine, but it needs more time. So yeah, it goes over the organization, some of the statutory implications here. A lot of this is steeped in statute and rule there. But yeah, you tell me, I guess. I don't know how much detail you want me to go in. If you already have questions, maybe I should stop open it up to that as already from what you've looked at or what you've reviewed. But I don't want to impose on you exactly what this has to look like, because ultimately it's your determination for what it needs to look like. This is just kind of here's everything that I would consider relevant, but that doesn't necessarily mean you have to consider.
I'm just gonna give a little context to this. Commissioner Hargett and I had the opportunity to attend nuts, bolts, and boardrooms, some training by AMC. And I got to be in a work session for chairs and vice chairs at the end of the first day. That was so interesting you know, you learn so much from visiting with other people who are doing what you're doing. When there's not very many people doing it. And, had some great presenters that talked about the value of, operating guidelines for the board. And I so appreciated that this was already drafted and really, we could take a little look at it as far as the pieces that go into it. And I'm hoping as we review this further that you'll look at it from a couple different directions. The first is obviously, is this what we do as a board? Is this how we operate? Because we want our guidelines to clearly reflect practice. And one of the reasons I was kind of fired up about doing this right now is because I believe we have a very high functioning board. We work well together. We want to pass that work when the time it comes to new members with not only a good example, but here it is. This is how we did it. There's some context to that. So it's not just to remind us of how we do it, but it's an outward facing document too. So if somebody's interested in running for county commissioner, they can have some idea of what they're getting into. This is, and obviously this isn't all the, you know, what it takes to be a good commissioner, you know, read the whole packet, Jiminy Crickets, come prepared, that kind of thing. But this is, this does really, in a very comprehensive way, capture what county commissioners are responsible for, what best practice is for how board meetings are run and how boards work together. And also, in addition to being both an internal for the board and an external for people in the county, what the heck does a county commissioner do? How often do you get that question? You know, it also helps our staff. It can inform Michael's work. Somebody comes into Michael and says, I really want this to go before the county board. And he can be reminded by looking at these guidelines that maybe it is some topic that that the county board has no control over. Like it's a state or federal issue that we have no control over. And that gives Michael and other staff the ability to look at those things and say, we don't have responsibility here. It's not that we don't care about your opinion, but no decision the county board can make in this circumstance is going to change that situation. And so I think it brings clarity both within the board, within the organization, and provides information outward facing for, oh, you want to do this? Here you go. Let's go. So that was some of my motivation to prompt bringing this forward now. Is we're doing good things. I think staff has done an awesome job in capturing the statutory ramifications and best practices. And it's always good to codify good things and aspire to them. But I as we discuss this further, I'm very interested if you see things that need to be changed. This is a document that we would adopt and we would look at it every year and review it and say, does that still hold true or what needs to change? So I welcome comments and welcome comments too.
So this would be a document posted on our website.
Most likely, or at least an abbreviation of this. I mean, there isn't a reason it could not be that way. But you know, parked on public hearings here. If there's a question, or even if it's, I need a quick reminder of how the public hearings happen or how do these work. Just stepping through. Here's what this looks like for the chair in that moment, or something else that may pop up, or we have a question on ordinances or resolutions, or what should those look like, and when do we acknowledge them, when do we not acknowledge them? what's best practice. You know, it just kind of articulates all of that. So there's nothing like proprietary or data sensitive here that it could not be posted. Yes. So it's helpful that there's a public ability to understand and consume this information.
No, I'd agree that, cause yeah, we do get the questions posed to us quite a bit. What do you guys do for? You know, and when you put on the spot, it's hard to just rattle everything off. Where you could direct them to the website or if I knew how to get to it. And read through, cause this does show through very well what we do and, procedures of meetings and stuff, if there's questioning on.
Good. Yeah. Glad to hear that. Yeah, I pulled up the PowerPoint I shared with the political science class at Waseca High School in 2023, talking through a Commissioner 101 thing and looking at all the internal committees, countywide committees, area-wide committees, state and national committees, ditch committees, and just considering that the average quote unquote commissioner is attending a minimum of 175 meetings a year, and that's just you're doing the baseline of your duty of your assignments. That's not over and above, which all of you are over and above. So I want people to understand that too, selfishly, how much actually goes into this role for like the $1 an hour you get, and what it actually takes. And it takes a crazy amount of investment and attention to detail and intentionality to be successful in this role. And frankly, it's obvious if you're not one of those individuals. As much exposure and experience I've had with other counties around the state for the last 15 years. Yes.
Where would you hang it? Below committee assignments or above, or if you were to put this document out there?
Oh, like where its actual landing spot is on the website?
Yes,
It'd go on the commissioner page.
sure.
Yeah, definitely the commissioner page.
Yeah.
I don't have a good picture of it in my head right now, but
We did also talk about a summary that would also
Yeah.
reference this so they could go to this for more detail, but
I think the long version would be fine.
well, I think we should put it out there, but
I think that's
one pagers are also very helpful often.
TLDR, too long to read.
Well, not for me,
I'd
but
say,
yeah, and then the intent again is to bring this to you the first meeting of the year as part of those normal level setting pieces, and anything we need to tweak, anything we need to change. Maybe the order of business vastly changes or the chair has something. We want to see this update every 2 weeks. Okay, we'll add that to our order of business. But you know, the intent, as I said, was not to put you in a box or limit your decision-making prowess. It's just to educate individuals on the work that is done, some of why it is done, how it's done. So happy to take your comments over the next couple of weeks. Does the first meeting, well, honestly, it would be the second meeting in June seem reasonable to make a decision on this? Would you like some more time? If it'll give you kind of 4 weeks to percolate and refine and maybe give me some feedback before that second June meeting, 16th, I want to say.
There's no reason to prolong it anymore. It'll just get put on the shelf until the time comes and then you look at it again.
Sure.
You know, if you just procrastinate, it just keeps.
where was that listed in this document? Where you're gonna put it on the shelf? Yeah,
Maybe that's what I need
that's
to talk
something
about.
number that I didn't put in.
We need to add that to it. Yeah.
The sense of urgency one.
there you go.
I've already seen 2 or 3 formatting things that'll have to get tweaked in here too, so that's why I emphasize it's a draft.
I really appreciate your taking the time to look at this and and consider it. I will say, I think AMC is going to do that training again, and I would highly recommend it. It was very good. I think Commissioner Hargis would say too, super practical, super applicable. And there was not every county, and there were a lot of counties represented there, and there were a fair amount of new commissioners there. But counties I know that are doing a lot of ambitious, good work that almost all of them without exception have some guidelines. And they have them for the reasons I laid out for you, to give folks who are interested in doing this work an understanding of what it is before they get into it. And also to give us guidance as we go day to day, to be reminded, oh yeah, that's my role. That is not my role. And we also had a session about the particulars of not just the board action, but what makes a good county commissioner, and very aspirational. Jack Swanson from Roseau was just, and he's been doing this a long time, and a very respected voice across the state. And he just had just a great list of, like, I need to hang it next to my computer when I sit at my desk and go, yeah, that's the kind of commissioner I want to be. So I've appreciated that from all of you on the board as I've worked with you the last 7.5 years, and I'm looking forward to more good work.
That's all I have, Madam Chair. The board has anything else for me?
Anything from anybody? Otherwise, what we will do right now is we will adjourn work session. And we will reconvene the board meeting in 15 minutes. Call this meeting to order. Please silence your cell phones and stand for the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome, everybody. We've got a full house today. This is awesome. We are going to begin with public comment, and we are fortunate today to have Representative Tom Sesson here. And so I'm going to call him up to start with and thank him for all his efforts on behalf of Waseca County during the recent Minnesota legislative session. And please give us the good word, the bad word, all of the stuff.
Give you my name and address and everything.
And thank you again for all your work. And I know you need sleep. So.
Well, thank you, Dee, and all the commissioners and everybody, really. As we know, with public service, it's all about what we can do for our constituency. And we did a lot of work this year. There was a lot of challenges, a lot of budget challenges. And so we did work through those things. What should be of concern to everybody is really HCMC at the County Medical Center. We did find a path forward for that. It's a path forward that wasn't necessarily desired by one side of the aisle because it would have extended a 1 cent tax that is called the ballpark tax. We're letting that expire. We're probably going to redirect some funds, depending on what the federal government does, with regard to the blue line. Because quite frankly, the residents didn't want the blue line. They'd rather have the bus service rather than the train coming through. And if you've traveled University Avenue between Minneapolis and St. Paul, you can see all of the changes that need to be made just for the train. And I will tell you that my observation of the ridership does not match what was forecasted. And I see it all the time up there at the Capitol because it comes right through the Capitol complex. And then also there was another train called Northern Lights that we eliminated, and it probably will be defunded overall because there was a federal government match. We need the federal government to come back on both these trains and say that we support your decision, quite frankly. So that will help us fund the gap for Denver County Medical Center. As many of you know, Eric Madsen went to Denver County Medical Center after he was shot in the face, and they did some wonderful work to save his life. So we're glad he's still here, and a very good friend of mine. So with that, one of the things that we pushed forward for Waseca County with the Justice Center was a local option sales tax. None of the different projects throughout the state for the local option sales tax were actually approved in the tax portion of the budget, which is precedent setting. It's never not been approved. It's almost like going through and getting a bit of a rubber stamp, but it was not approved. And I believe, this is personal opinion, so maybe the paper doesn't need to report it, but I'm concerned that the way we try to hold the board and people accountable for HCMC in the future going forward was we put into law that they need to restructure how they do their board. And that involves professionals on the board, not necessarily just your next door neighbor, because we need more accountability on how the funds are spent and how the overall HCMC is organized. And quite frankly, when the original request for a bailout came in, there were a lot of other things that were dangling on the overall request that had nothing to do with the hospital. So, of course, due diligence wise, we sorted through all of that, pulled out the things that didn't directly impact saving the hospital. And then also really looked at other options, because to continue the 1 cent sales tax in Hennepin County that was set up for the ballpark, if we don't let that expire, that's the equivalent of another tax hike. And so that's what we looked at. And we also looked at all the stadiums and everything since prior to COVID and prior to George Floyd. There's data that shows that there's decreasing numbers of people coming. Obviously, the Vikings game sells out and everything else. It's all the other events up there that have been impacted since that time. And so we need to reinvigorate people coming up to Minneapolis and going to those events and using those event centers. So that's some of the things that we're looking at more strategically, more long-term, is how we can help everybody do those things. So we will actually have a formal letter coming out to all the municipalities who had asked for the local option sales tax. I had one for City of Owatonna as well. And so you'll be receiving a letter from Chair Davids. I spoke to him quite extensively yesterday after we did all the retirement speeches of what we could do different. And the feedback really for the team here is, Tom, what you presented, we looked at, made sure it followed the law and everything else, and your package for both Owatonna and Waseca County were model packages that we use to compare other people. So thank you for the hard work, especially Michael. I know it was kind of, I got late notice, you got late notice, you pulled it off, and I know that was a very short weekend for you. So I just want to give everybody that feedback. Certainly, as everything comes together in this agreement at the end, especially when you have a tied house, we are in the process of unpacking all the implications of everything else. So I have more information. I have a folder about this that of notes and things that I'm going to sort through and put in a little bit more of an organized set of statements that I'm sure that we can come back and share those with everybody or a work session or something like that. So I thank you for the support. I thank our community for the support. I'm going to divert over to City of Waseca because a lot of people live in the City of Waseca. We did get a really big win. We were able to secure $9.8 million for our INR and basically sewer system improvements, which we had not gotten before. And we've been trying for over 4 years. And I was able to secure that, as well as $1 million towards a new water tower that tentatively will be located out on the west side of the City of Waseca. So we got those, plus we got a lot of money in the bonding bill for Greater Minnesota Roads and Bridges. And those programs will be coming out in more detail here shortly. So the bond sale actually does not normally take place till September. So we don't actually see the money available until after that time. Willing to take questions if anybody would like to ask me anything. I'll jot those if I don't have an answer.
Yeah.
The local option sales tax, you said that was unprecedented.
It's unprecedented that wasn't approved.
Right, because it had went through committee and was in there.
It was well received. It was good packages, and it was really came down to a negotiating point between the two chairs and greater leadership. So as we traded things like HCMC and how we were funding that, it was not agreed upon by the other side of the aisle.
So I would imagine we just try again next year, huh? Is that
Exactly right. It's not a biannual, it's an annual. So we can certainly try again next year. So unfortunately, impacts if you have to go on and rebid projects and things like that. We have to update numbers, but we can certainly start doing that sooner rather than later. We don't have to wait till last minute. So
I suspect we'll be coming back to ask for your help.
well, thank you.
Well,
Pleasure
thank
to
you
do
for
that.
the feedback to help us submit a really good package, and thanks to staff who
Yeah.
really.
Really, like I said, it was present. I mean, it was a model package. So thank you for all the hard work. And we want to make sure that we do it. And when we're not doing things at the last minute, like I'll get a call, hey, your package is missing this. And of course, I'm calling Michael and the team. And we didn't do that because you put together such a good package. So I appreciate that.
Other questions for Tom? Go ahead.
I missed it. What was the amount for I know the million for the water tower, but then
8.9 million.
8.9.
And that was the exact ask. So one of the things that when we had, there was a bit of a press conference for the bonding bill right before we went up to go on and pass the bill. One of the things I think all of the Minnesota cities, especially greater Minnesota, is people have done a really good job of phasing projects. So rather than trying to fund a $30 million project at the expense of other communities, if we really hit those numbers down to where they get phased through different portions of the project, that works out really well. I realize you had a spreadsheet already, so good job. Yeah.
Everyone knows where to find stuff.
Oh, yes.
Any other questions?
Certainly willing to come back in and sit down with folks and take questions later.
Absolutely, and you know that we'll be seeing you. You
Absolutely.
just so much appreciate the work that you've done for
Thank you.
Waseca County, the city of Waseca, the partnership we have, and
Absolutely.
we're looking forward to going back at it a year from now.
Well, if anyone had any doubt, registration for the campaign opens today across the state. I'll be going to see Rachel's team here shortly.
There you go.
Thanks much, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Any other public comment? And thank you, sir. Thank you. Any other public comment? Do we have anybody online? Just to double check.
Handful, but no one
Nobody's
wanted
raised
to speak up. So
Okay, then we will move on to approval of agenda. We've got plenty on our agenda and we're going to click right through it and learn some things and do some things today. So any additions or corrections to the agenda, staff? Commissioner Milbrook,
Oh, ma'am.
Commissioner Krause,
No, Madam Chair.
Commissioner Christopherson,
No, Madam Chair.
Commissioner Harder,
No, Madam Chair.
County Attorney.
No.
Okay. Then I would be looking for a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you.
Second.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Milbrook, second by Commissioner Christopherson. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. All right. Then we've got a couple of presentations and we're going to start with Christy Calvig from the University of Minnesota Extension. Welcome.
Good morning.
Good morning. We're glad you're here.
Yes. Well, and I did not come alone. So it's been a bit since we have stopped over to your meeting to provide an update. And I am most happy to share with you that we have a full office. So it's very exciting to have the 1.5 FTE educators that you have all invested in. We have both of those individuals on board. And so you're very familiar with Amy, but you'll also get to meet Leah today. We have our county paid or our county hired support staff, Kelly Tomford, who's been with us. It will be a year in September. And she's been an excellent addition to our team. And then we also have Isabella Schultz, who is with us as a summer intern. In addition to the great staff that will be coming up to share some updates with you, Extension as a whole continues to have a presence here in Waseca County. We have had activity from the Regional Sustainable Development Partnership, doing some programming across the county with the area watershed, as well as our Ag and Natural Resources educators bringing in some different programming, typically in conjunction with the Outreach Center, but also doing some programming with Farm America as well. So excited to see those impacts happening. We are currently in our second year of our 3-year MOA. So starting next year, we will begin to have those conversations again about the support that the county provides Extension through that memorandum of agreement. So I look forward to those conversations a year from now. But first, we're going to start off by having Amy. Yes, you're watching. Amy's going to talk about some impacts from last year.
Good morning. Good morning. I think it's been a minute since I've shared our 2025 numbers, so I want to do that just to give you all a glimpse of what Waseca County 4-H is up to. As always, our number one priority is building that generation of youth to be beyond ready. So we're preparing them for college, career, and life after 4-H. And we do that through teaching them to learn to lead and making a difference. And I'll share some highlights with how we have been able to accomplish that. Last year, so in 2025, we had 700 participants in Waseca County 4-H. So that's the number of youth that in some way, somehow experienced a 4-H program. And most of those numbers came through the Pop Club at the Farmers Market, and then also our Free Tree partnership that we do every spring. And so a lot of those numbers come from that. We also had 236 youth that actually enrolled in a Waseca County 4-H club. What I'm really excited, so I kind of geek out over numbers and I had to peek and see what we were at this year. We're up to 283. So I was really excited to see that. Leah's going to share a little bit about that growth and why we're seeing increased numbers. So last year we had 42 new 4-H members in Waseca County, and as of today, we're up to 69 new members. That's really exciting, but I think one of the numbers that I'm most excited about on this page is our retention rate. So not only are kids coming into 4-H, but they're staying in 4-H. 86.5% of youth from 2024 came back for 2025. And that's really exciting because I think the statewide average is between 75 and 80%. So that shows me that we're offering a wide variety of activities for youth in the program, and they are gaining positive impacts out of the program as well. On the backside shows some of those positive impacts. 98% of youth enjoy learning in 4-H because it's hands-on, it's relevant, and it's around what they're interested in. At our county fair last year, there was 170 youth that showcased, so participated in that county fair. And the other promising number that's not shown on here is that our exhibit numbers and our entry numbers continue to go up every year. We're always so close to the 4th of July, and I think it's gonna be down. Families are focused on something else, but no, they surprise me every year, and they keep bringing their best and filling the barns and the building at the fair. So that's promising to see as well. As far as being ready to lead, 97% of our youth in 4-H reporting having an opportunity to lead. So they have those opportunities through being club officers, our county ambassador program, youth livestock leaders, our county fair green team, ag learning lab leader. There's a whole wide variety of ways that youth can step up and take a leadership opportunity in 4-H. They're also serving their communities. 3 in 4 youth reported that they've served their community somehow in 4-H. A lot of that service comes through their community clubs that they meet monthly with. And here in Waseca County, 79% of 4-Hers had said, yep, we had a chance to help out our community. That came in a variety of ways, supporting the food shelf through food drives, dish pickups, birthday cake kits for the food shelf, just a whole lot of projects and creativity that our clubs are putting into to make sure they're leaving this community better than what it is when they start here. The other number, of course, is our screened adult volunteers. We had 68 volunteers last year that were screened and ready to serve and served in a variety of capacity. And of course, we can't accomplish any of this without those volunteers. They're the ones leading judging teams and community clubs and dog training. And we just so fortunate here in Waseca County to have a dedicated group of volunteers that step up and make a lot of things happen for our youth. So questions on any of the numbers or?
We could hardly find fault with these stellar accomplishments. And obviously, from a rural farming county, it's great to see, not that 4-H is just farming, but obviously the close tie to the agricultural base of our county. This warms my heart and knows that we got a good foundation for moving forward for years and years and years.
Thank you.
Partly thanks to the work that Extension does and parents who want their kids to thrive here in Waseca County.
Thank you. And again, we're so fortunate that you have supported an additional staff member because we're growing, and so that's good to see. So thank you.
Thank you.
So Leah joined our team, Leah Broker, and I'll have her come up. Excuse me, joined our team in September, with the primary focus being on outreach, because we know that there are a lot of kids who have that I shouldn't say single opportunity, but it's not with a community club that they've signed up for. And so Leah's focus is working with our school programs, and I'll let her talk about some of the new partnerships that she's been developing.
Yeah. So some of the things that I do a lot of after school programming. So I've been trying to get more schools interested in having 4-H come in their school and their after school program. I did add New Richland this year as a new group. So we did after school, I did 6 sessions with them, and we're going to be doing summer school ones as well. We had Team Academy, which is one that we've already had in the past, but we're continuing that one. We are going to do some community ed with the Waseca area schools this summer. We have the Waseca Intermediate Summer School that we're gonna be doing this summer. We've gotten into the mental health fair through the Waseca schools. We did the wellness fair through Team Academy. I will be running some day camps for all ages. We got a 6th, 7th, and 8th grade one, a 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade one, and a Cloverbud one, which is a kindergarten through 2nd grade. We will be promoting at the Janesville Farmers Market as well as the Waseca Farmers Market. Next year, I have Jay's Nest very interested in having 2 separate programming, one for older kids and one for younger kids. So I'm hoping to have that started next year, next school year. And then we will also be doing a table at the Taste of the Farm at the fairgrounds. And that's what I have so far.
Any questions for Leah? Thank you so much for all the work you're doing to engage with our schools
Yeah, thank you.
and community.
And just thank you for all of your support, and we appreciate the ongoing opportunities between Waseca County and Extension. So thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you to local staff and regional staff. Some great things happen for us here in Waseca County. Right? All right. We will move on to our next presentation. We have a neighbor here. Bill Wackles is here from Freeborn County. He's a Freeborn County engineer, and he is going to give us an update on Songbird Trail.
Good morning, Madam Chair. Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you very much for the time in your agenda this morning. And it is a pleasure to be with you here today to present some updates on the Songbird Trail. First off, I want to announce with excitement the successful award of several grants to the project. We are happy to report $4.1 million awarded to Songbird Trail in Freeborn County in the first 2 years of our pursuit of the project. So we've got a long ways to go, but we are advertising our very first construction project currently. We're opening bids June 2nd. And that project will include the construction of 2 half-mile segments of trail, the reconstruction, the replacement of an existing railroad bridge to a pedestrian bridge. Then there are 3 other railroad bridges that will be upfitted to pedestrian standards. So it currently has railroad ties and no railings. That's not going to work. So it'll be upfitted to planking and railings like you're accustomed to seeing on bike trails at those 3 locations. So it really is setting the table, setting the stage for our progress northward towards you all. The most recent grant awards were a total of $2.6 million, and that was awarded for a bridge, pedestrian bridge over Trunk Highway 13, adjacent to Elbert Lee. That is a critical link to getting our main source of ridership, the population of Elbert Lee, out of the city and into the rural area. So it's been identified as a barrier, and we're over halfway towards getting that project funded. That project will be 2029 or 2030. As I'm sure you are all aware, building a trail is a long process, typically done in segments and phases over time. I plan to be with Freeborn County a long time, and I hope to have the trail done before I leave. And that's not all that unrealistic a goal in terms of timeline. These things don't happen overnight. So again, thank you. And we are so happy for the partnership that the County of Waseca has made and having you as a supporter of the trail project. And evidence of that was Commissioner Malterer and Commissioner Christopherson's attendance with us 3 weeks ago today at the Greater Minnesota Regional Parks and Trails Commission site visit. We have submitted our master planning document to the commission. They come out and visit our project, and we were able to meet with them at the Edgewater Bay Pavilion, which is about a half-mile off the future trail. Went over some sort of housekeeping and introductory items, and then loaded a van and gave the commission members a tour. There were 4 commission members in attendance, 3 commissioners, and then their executive director. They had great feedback for our master plan and our project. Lots of positive comments, lots of optimism, lots of excitement. They did identify one gap in our submitted materials, though. If you remember, the last time I was here to speak with you all, I think it was August of last year, and you guys did a resolution of support. And what was identified is that we need
a memorandum of agreement, which links the parties, the city of Albert Lea, Freeborn County, and Waseca County as the parties supporting the master plan. And that agreement needs to do four things. State that all parties are in agreement towards advancing the master plan. That we are in agreement to establish a committee or task force to support the collaboration and coordination of those efforts. And then we need to define the membership of that committee and the frequency of meeting. So the biggest piece of that is something that you all have already done with that resolution of support, and that is committing to constructing trail only within your jurisdiction at your pace, and then maintaining such trail. This agreement establishes this joint committee that we will work together on, and who will serve on it. The agreement is up for consideration at a later agenda item on this morning's meeting. I do have copies of that I see it's presented above. The agreement, like I say, handles the 4 points that I just mentioned, but also goes over things like amendments, severability, and indemnification. As Songbird progresses towards Waseca County, we anticipate Waseca County fostering other partnerships and relationships with other municipalities in your area to develop the trail. The agreement paves the way for inviting those additional parties into the agreement. There can be master plan amendments at a later date to include those municipalities and update the plan with detailed routes or other amenities that you'd like to include on your portion of the trail. The biggest thing that I want to highlight is that your hands are on the throttle for what happens in Waseca County. There's nothing in this agreement that would commit any of municipalities in Waseca County or yourselves to funding the trail in Freeborn County or in the city of Albert Lea. And likewise, we wouldn't, contribute to your building of trail within Waseca County. So the agreement is very specific that you're responsible for the trail within your jurisdiction and that you are in control of those pursuits. So with that in mind, that is my request of you this morning to consider approval of this agreement so that we can submit it to the commission. They intend to act on our master plan at their June meeting, and that would potentially open up our ability to apply for grant funding through the commission before their July deadline. And again, this is an opportunity annually to request additional money from the commission for years into the future. And hopefully we'll open up a grant funding source for you all too, once you're ready to build trail. I would entertain any questions you may have.
I think, obviously, boards are always concerned about what's this going to cost, and citizens are too. We know that Freeborn County has a robust beginning on this and has gotten a lot of funding. I appreciate your clarity that the MOU is not like, this isn't a request for money. It is a request for partnership. It gives us a seat at the table as this trail continues to develop, and gives us the ability and a mechanism through that committee to start looking at what it's going to look like someday in Waseca. Let's talk specifically about how our board signing this, if we choose to do that, advances not only Freeborn's ability to get funding through the regional partnership, but would also, when the time comes, advance our ability to get funds that wouldn't be available to us if we weren't part of this regional effort.
Absolutely. Thank you, Madam Chair. Without this agreement in place, the regional designation would only be offered for trail segments within Freeborn County. So the regional trail would stop at the county line, and there would have to be a renewed master planning effort to amend the current master plan to include Waseca, and then we would be doing something similar in form and function to the agreement before you today at that later date. Without being designated as a regional plan party, Waseca County would not be eligible for the grant funding that's available through the commission. There are not specific maximums set forth with that grant money, nor are there minimums, nor are there match requirements. So it's a very enticing source of funding for the trail. It is a source that we intend to go back to the well on several times as we build our segments towards Waseca. And quite frankly, it's the source that I'm the most excited about. There are federal sources which bring about very intensive project administration and environmental studies and things like that that bring in added expense to that funding process. And this, there will be some environmental reviews and things like that, but not to the extent that we have with the federal process. So yeah, it's something that we are very excited about, and something that we're going to pursue anyways. And so why not include you as a partner? And again, sort of, I keep using that term, but set the table for what will one day be trail within Waseca County. Did that answer your question?
Yes,
Okay.
it does. Any other questions or comments from the board? This is first on our action item, so we'll come back later for discussion. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. And then if I may, I plan to excuse myself after that item. I've got a couple pressing matters back in Freeborn County, so I'm gonna step out as soon as that item is done.
You're on first, so
All right.
we'll get you moving.
Again, thank you very much for having me.
Thank you.
Thanks.
You know, county engineers got other stuff to do and sit meetings. Sometimes. All right. We are on to approval of county board minutes. We have one set of minutes in the packet from May 5th. And I would look for a motion to approve, or if there's any corrections that need to be made.
I'll move it. Park.
All right, motion by Hargit,
Second by Krause.
second by Krause. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. All right, then consent agenda. The consent agenda includes approval of bills, the approval of the security agreement for deposit of public funds locally, and the fund transfer for the highway department equipment. So those are routine matters. I would look for a motion and a second.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Milbrecht.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Christopherson. Any quick questions or? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. All right. We are down to action items here. And first on our action items is the memorandum of agreement for planning, construction, and maintenance of Songbird Trail. And County Engineer Wackels did a great job of helping us understand what this is about, and we've got it in our packet. I would look for a motion in a second, and then we can have discussion.
I'll make that motion.
All right.
Second by Krause.
All right. Motion by Commissioner Milbrecht, second by Commissioner Krause. And questions, comments, discussion.
If that were to move forward and it becomes regional, which it is, are we a goal fiscal host moving at the speed that we would move at for that?
Would you like me to answer from that?
Please, thank you.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner. You would be responsible for administering the projects within your jurisdiction, including handling the funds. There's actually a term in the agreement that doesn't require permission from the city of Elberly or Freeborn County to advance trail in our own area. And likewise, when we move ahead with our first project, we wouldn't be coming back to you for a permit or permission to advance the trail. So as long as it conforms to the general outline of the master plan, you are free and willing to advance at your own pace.
Thank you.
One of the advantages I see to moving forward with this memorandum is this regional trail idea has been laid out in Waseca County since before I was on the board. This opens up some funds if the opportunity comes to us to obtain right away, because so far we haven't We haven't been able to have that discussion on the old rail bed in Waseca, which is an obvious place where it could go. But if that opportunity opened up, being on this agreement gets us far enough down the road in our planning that we can look for some funds to help us with that. It isn't all on us then necessarily, even as we start to look at acquisition of right of way. Other questions or comments for Phil? Okay, we have a motion and we have a second. All in favor? Say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. All right. We'll
Thank you
get
so
that
much.
signed. Do you need to take that back with you?
So I'm willing to do so. I do have a signature copy with me, but we can circulate that later. It's,
It's up to you.
You gotta leave it with me on standing email.
I know that we've got a timeline, so I just want to be sensitive to.
yep, so we would, it was just approved at our board meeting this morning. Our signers, our signing happens on Thursday and it goes to the city of Oberlin the following Tuesday. So this will follow just fine.
Okay. Awesome. Thanks, Phil. Have a great day.
Thank you.
All right, next on our agenda, item B, resolution 2026-19, establish an absentee ballot board for the 2026 election cycle. Thanks for being here.
Good morning, thank you. This morning, I'm asking you to establish an absentee ballot board. We're required by law to have that to process and tabulate absentee, mail ballot, and UOCAVA ballots. And the board needs to be made up of people that signed up at the caucus and the party lists, as well as trained deputy auditors to fill in where we can't fill all of the spots there. So I'm asking for adoption of resolution 2026-19.
Awesome. And we have this in our packet and we've all had a chance to review it. Are there any? Well, no, I should ask for a motion in a second. Some discussion.
I would move resolution 2026-19. Second.
All right, motion by Commissioner Christopherson, second by Commissioner Hargit. Questions or comments? This is a fairly routine matter. Every time I'm watching to do this, so.
And I should clarify, this is for the entire election cycle.
For 2026. Okay. Excellent. All right. I'll call the question then. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. All right, there you go. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Next, resolution 2026-20, Waseca Hockey Association request for premises permit. This too is everything just good. And
Okay, so I have received the completed application for the LG 214 premise permit, together with the LG 215 lease for log gambling activity. A lot of words in this one.
Yeah.
So basically, this is at Pint Blue, you want to have some gambling on their premises, and the Hockey Association would be in charge of that.
I'll make that motion. 2026-20.
motion by Commissioner Milbrecht. Looking for a second.
Second by Krause.
Second by Commissioner Krause. Any questions or comments?
So
Go ahead.
So this isn't a special event, right? This is.
It is not. This is something of a permit.
Okay.
Like a lot of the clubs have those in town and so forth.
Yeah, like full pass, right? What it is.
Yes.
Okay. All right. I was thinking when I first read it that it was a special event, but it is just a permit.
Commissioner Hargit.
And they're not limited on this
They are not.
as not being a special event, because the special events are how many a year ago? 12, 10, 12, somewhere in there.
Right.
Okay. This is what they.
It is outside of it, yes.
All right. Any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Passes. All right, item D, Resolution 2026-21, authorizing use of a new voting system in Waseca. Tammy, we are keeping you busy here.
Yes, you are. Thank you so much. Okay, looking for authorization to adopt our new voting system, which would include the use of the express vote, which we purchased last year out of our technology fund. And that is an assistive voting device, but also used by a lot of people in other areas that just choose to vote that way because it's faster. It's a smaller piece of paper. It's ballot stock. It's about this large. You insert that in and you can just vote on the screen, hit print, and it puts the barcodes on there. It goes in the same ballot tabulator. And it's a really nice piece of equipment. Also can be easily used if we run low on ballots. Anyone could use that. There's always quite a balance of deciding how many to order. And so it's always good to have a little safety net, but that would be used in conjunction with the DS200s that we've been using and the poll pad, electronic poll pads. That's rosters. So just asking for the adoption of the resolution to approve the entire system.
Or we have discussion, I would look for a motion in a second.
Motion by Krause, second by Milbrath.
Motion by Commissioner Krause, second by Commissioner Milbrath. Questions, comments?
The only question I had, and you know, that there's always uncertainty in the public of our security of our voting. And when you talk about two different systems, but they're talking to each other, they're tabulating in the same.
No, they're separate. So we've had the DS200s for many years, and I'm sure everyone in this room has used it. You put your ballot in there after you mark it, and it counts.
Yeah.
The express vote is people that are not able to or choose not to mark the manual ballot can do it electronically. They can do it visually or through the headset. There's a nice picture of it. And that only marks the ballot, it does nothing else. So then you take that ballot over to the DS200 and it goes in the same machine as the people that manually mark.
Okay, so that's just printing you out one to go over
Correct.
to our common machine. Okay.
Correct. And then we're linking in the poll pad where you sign in on the poll pad rather than on a paper roster, just because we have to have all of our electronic plan in the same thing. So it's all one item for this.
Yeah, I just didn't want there to be some kind of conception that there could be a possible double up of,
Absolutely not.
you know.
I am really appreciative of this new technology, only because I have family members who filling in those little circles is really super hard if you have some disabilities, even aging disabilities. Getting the circle filled in can be difficult. So I appreciate that there's some technology that in a very transparent way makes that happen. I'm looking forward to how much easier this will be. All right, other questions or comments for Tammy? Thanks as always for making sure Waseca County does a great job with elections.
Thank you.
All right, I will call the question. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. All right. Thanks, Tammy.
Welcome. I have to speak. I have a couple things going.
Yeah, you have nothing else to do. We're teasing you. All right, item E, resolution 2026-2022. Approval of Waseca County 2026-2028 strategic plan. We had some time this morning during my work session to review the pieces, and knowing that we are going to look at this again later in the year and make any adjustments or celebrate some wins. So I will begin by looking for a motion second, and then have any discussion necessary.
I'll move it, Parker.
Thank you.
Second by Krause.
Thank you, Commissioner Hargit, for the motion and Commissioner Krause for the second. Discussion or questions? During our work session, we talked through this, so we have reviewed it, and if we adopt it, it will become a public-facing document too, so that folks in the county know what we're doing. Seeing no questions or comments, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. All right. Awesome. Item F, this is a public hearing to consider approving a conditional use permit to allow cannabis cultivation on a portion of PID 12-032-0650, zoned A1 Agricultural Protection District. Dan,
Good morning.
good morning.
So at the planning commission meeting on, earlier this month, they held a public hearing and approved, forwarding this request to you for your approval. This is a, request to do an outdoor cannabis grow operation. It was duly, noticed, and you should have included in your packet the findings of fact and criteria. And with that, we have made sure that the conditions that are attached to the conditional use permit are tied into our ordinances as well as state statute and rules. And did you have any question about the information in front of you?
Not at this point. Let's look for a motion in a second and we'll have some discussion.
I think you have to do a public.
Oh, that's right. I see. Out of that. That's what happens.
I'm going to let you know that the applicant is here today if you have any questions.
Awesome. Let's begin with the public hearing, and it's not unusual to hear from the applicant during the public hearing, if that is desired. All right. This is why I provide the opportunity. Is there anyone else who would like to make public comment on this? Public comment? Please check online, staff.
Not seen anything, Madam Chair.
All right. Hearing no one wanting to come forward for public comment, we would close the public hearing at 10:17. And now we would look for a motion and a second, some discussion.
On the criteria.
On the criteria, yes, on the criteria. Thank you for starting there.
I would move the criteria.
All right.
Second that.
Motion by Commissioner Christopherson, second by Commissioner Mulbrook to move the criteria. Thank you to the Planning Commission for doing that work. Any comments or concerns? Yes, sir.
Madam Chair, I will recuse myself from both the criteria and the CUP board.
Thank you, Commissioner Hargett. All right, then we will, any other questions or comments on criteria? Then we will do a roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Christopherson,
Yes.
Commissioner Horgan,
Abstain.
Commissioner Milduff,
Yes.
Commissioner Grazzi,
Yes.
Commissioner Mulder.
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0 with 1 abstaining.
Right, thank you. Then we would go on to the conditional use permit.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Milbrook.
Second by Carpenter.
Thank you, Commissioner Krause. Questions or comments? Once again, we'll do a roll call vote.
Commissioner Christopherson,
Yes.
Commissioner Horgan,
Abstain.
Commissioner Milduff,
Yes.
Commissioner Grazzi,
Yes.
Commissioner Mulder.
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0 with 1 abstaining.
All right. All right. Thank you much. Then on to the next public hearing. To consider a conditional use permit to construct and operate a 4 megawatt photovoltaic solar array on a portion of PID 05001, 0700 in A1 Ag Protection District. Tina.
On May 7th, the planning commission reviewed staff reports and held a public hearing to send on to you for request for approval of a conditional use permit. This is in order to install a 4 megawatt 4 megawatt solar farm.
I will let you know that, on this parcel of property is already a 1 megawatt. And this is a continuation, with the same, company of developers working with the landowner. In front of you in your packet is included the findings of fact and the criteria for your review. And, if you have any questions, happy to answer them.
We ask questions though. Or do you want?
Let's take some questions before we move in. If you've got an obvious one here, go ahead.
It says approximately 26 acres. I don't know if that's accurate or not.
So you'll notice, one of the conditions of the CUP is that they provide us with the legal description. I did speak with the gentleman from Wildcat Renewables, and they are in the final negotiation for the project, their lease agreement. And you'll notice in there is a site plan. That site plan is roughly 26 acres. The entire parcel is closer to 150, so it's just the northern portion of that particular piece of property. But the applicant knows that they will need to provide us with a leased area legal description in order to have that conditional use permit recorded. Also in conversation with the applicant, besides the lease agreement, before this would, with your approval of the CUP, they would then have to forward to us the escrow agreement and the cash escrow that would be required for this particular project. So the CUP will not be recorded until the legal description has been received and the cash escrow has been received. Once the CUP is recorded, then they can apply for a zoning permit for construction. My understanding, I want to say, I think they want to start construction by this fall. So they were just tying up a few ends.
Thanks for walking through that administrative process. All right. We're going to start here with a public hearing. So we will open the public hearing at 10:22, and I would ask for public comment. Anyone for public comment? And we will check online. Any public comment from online?
No, Madam Chair.
Then, seeing and hearing none, we would close the public comment, 10:22, and go on to consider conditions. And I would look for a motion to approve the conditions.
I'll move it.
Thank you, Commissioner Hargett. Second.
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Christopherson. Questions, comments on the conditions?
Chair, is it still 40,000 for decommission? Is that correct?
So it's 45,000 per megawatt.
Okay.
And I think that is spelled out in the CUP document that you have.
Any other questions or comments on conditions? Seeing and hearing none, this is just on the conditions. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. All right, then on to the CUP. I would be looking for a motion in a second and then we can have some discussion.
I would move. Approve all this. Conditional use permit.
Thank you, Commissioner Christopherson.
Second by Krause.
Second by Commissioner Crosby. Questions or comments?
Is there any, I should remember this, but it's been a while now. Property tax for, that goes over 1 megawatt. Doesn't it get classified differently? So it is taxed differently?
Yeah, there's solar production tax in state law. And that follows its own distribution schedule. It's wind and solar that both follow the same formulaic process. So there is a production tax in lieu of a property tax, if you will.
Once you get over that 1 megawatt.
Yeah, so it kind of functions as 80-20 split between county and township, wherever the government is residing. So that's something that's captured by the state initially. They manage it and remit it, but it's separate process, but you're right. There is a different process that is not property tax, but functions as a property tax.
Okay, so there is no property tax on it. This isn't.
I wouldn't say there isn't a property tax on it. There's certainly a personal property value ascribed to them. But they're two totally different things.
So property tax stays in place and it's A1A, and then the production tax
Is on top.
is on top of that.
Yeah, there's still a value to the underlying land, but I'm pretty sure these would be treated as personal property. So either way, it's an improvement to the land, yes.
So it is advantageous to the county to have this large of a solar garden.
More of an abstract question to me, but in terms of the production tax, yes.
And if I could point out, in our existing comprehensive land use plan, there is a vision statement for infrastructure that says the county will promote and support good infrastructure for the county. So there is a statement in our comp plan that is related to that.
Other questions or comments for staff? We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. All right. Next, well, we're gonna get through these public hearings before we get done with this meeting. We've got another public hearing to consider approving a conditional use permit to construct an electrical substation. This is essential services on PID 06, 034, 0600 and PID 15, 034, 1400 zoned 1 general industrial district. All you, Tina.
All right, thank you. Again, on May 7th, the Planning Commission reviewed our staff report and held a public hearing, approved the criteria as presented to you and forwarding it to you for your consideration of approval. This is a project, it is property out in the county, but this substation will support expansion of utility services in the city of Janesville and provide for some of their growth and development. You have in front of you the criteria and findings of fact. And we do have Andrea's here from the city of Janesville if you happen to have any questions. And I would stand for any questions that you might have.
Okay, let's start with the public hearing. And so I would open the public hearing at 10:28. Any comments? Any comments in the room? Andrea, if you have something to add, this would certainly be the appropriate time.
I can, otherwise if I can wait for discussion too,
Okay.
if it pertains more to that.
That's fine. Anybody online? All right. Having no public comment, we will close the public hearing at 10:29. And then we would begin by looking at conditions. Yeah, let's begin by looking at conditions.
Condition.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner Christopherson.
I'll second part.
Second by Commissioner Hargett. Any questions on the conditions, comments? Hearing and seeing none, in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. All right, then let's go on to the conditional use permit. And, and before we consider the conditional use permit, I would again offer, Andrew, do you have anything for us that you want to tell us about this project?
Okay.
Absolutely, please.
Good morning. For those of you that don't know me, I am Andrea Owen. I'm the general manager with the Janesville Utilities in the city of Janesville. And a few years back, we kind of did a long-term study with our electric utility that we serve our territory with the city of Janesville. And so the commission at that time, we are moving forward with applying for the CUP for construction of a additional substation for our utility. We are looking to improve reliability for our electric utility with maintaining our voltage, and then also having a secondary substation if needed, if something were to happen with equipment or nature disasters with one versus a different location. And then also to plan for future growth, as Tina had alluded to. We have some land in our electric utility as well as city limits that could potentially down the road be developed or not for residential development. And then also we do have a large industrial zone within our territory. So we're trying to plan for that as well.
Sir?
Is this gonna offset the generators that are?
We will maintain the generation at the power plant, but this incorporates long-term planning with adding additional gen units.
Any other questions?
The only concern it looked like at the meeting was a couple of comments about water drainage. And that's all being addressed, correct? I mean, that.
Looking at me,
Well, I know, I just seen that they.
I did go out there. I spent half a day out there. With the neighboring landowner to the north. Taking a look at the water situation of where all the water can come from, and I haven't looked at it today.
I've been by it.
But
There's a lot of water there.
yeah, and the construction isn't done yet with the water reservoir being put in and that sort of thing. And then but it is a private issue with the private owners. So there was nothing that we would, the planning commission wanted to put in the CUP because of the private owners. But is that the owner to the north wanted to make sure that the county was aware of it and that the other owners were aware of it, of what the possible potential could be, but the work through Land and Water Resources, putting their plan together. A really good plan. And we think that's going to work. So we'll just have to see in the next couple of years. I know the private landowner has an idea or two that would work to get the water through out and underneath the road over to the open outlet that goes through the city of Janesville by the nursing home or assisted living home to the golf course, that sort of thing. So, but yeah, we'll just let the city of Janesville take a look at that in future years.
And just to maybe add a little extra information, you may notice there has been dirt moving, and there was a land alteration permit that was applied for and approved working with Chris Howard, Land and Water. So Chris was able to review the stormwater management plan and the construction, you know, what type of grading and stuff. So he reviewed all of that before we did the land alteration permit. And along with that, Chris actually went out too and walked around and as you are aware, it's a private drainage system versus public. And so, but it is very much, as Commissioner Krause mentioned, we're now aware of it and he spent some time with the landowner to the north and so we'll just see.
I have been watching a lot of dirt here. Holy moly. Dug out a lot of clay. Other questions or comments? On the additional use permit. As the storm started to roll in last night and I was downstairs remaking a bed and the lights started to brown. As a resident of Janesville, I went, well, I mean, obviously the city of Janesville has had some forethought to know that if we want to grow, some of these things have to be done. And this is why it's called an essential service. So appreciate all the work that Janesville staff has done to make this happen and also the work that Waseca County staff has done in partnership with them. All right. If there's no other questions or comments, I'll call the question. All in favor of this new fee, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. I don't. Oh, we don't have a motion. Oh, we don't. You're right. We don't have any check marks here. Thank you.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Milbreath.
Second by Krause.
Second by Commissioner Krause. This is what happens when
Now
I'm
you
excited
can-
about a project.
now you can-
Now I can call the question. That's great. This is why it takes the whole bunch of us to do this. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. All right. Thank you. Thanks, Andrea, for coming over. We appreciate it. All right. One more public hearing. Adopt ordinance 2026-168 to amend section 6.23 of the floodplain ordinance overlay district standards of Waseca County Unified Development Code. Go ahead, T.
As you know, we recently went through the process of updating our shoreland overlay district ordinance. And through that process, discovered that there were a few housekeeping things that needed to happen with our floodplain overlay district ordinance also. So we submitted the recommended changes. The end result is our ordinance is now in line with state statute and complementary to the shoreland overlay district. Worked closely on this with Chris Howard and Mame before she left. And so we have in front of you, we have received the conditional approval from the DNR. No back and forth, first time through, so we were happy about that. No changes requested. So the Planning Commission did hold a public hearing on May 7th and forwarding it to you with a recommendation for approval of the update to this ordinance. And we stand for any questions.
In summary, I did review this all carefully. But basically in summary, the state statute has changed and there are additional overlay, specific definitions of overlay areas within the floodplain, in and around the floodplains.
It's been in state statute for a while. It was something that inadvertently was not defined in ours.
Okay.
And so through those conversations, those different designations of flood fringe, floodplain, floodway, those things are in the state statute. And so I requested that we take a look at ours to make sure that we were in tune with what state statute was. And so Mommy went ahead and did the analysis and put together the update, and Chris and I met and with her, and we were able to submit it to the Department of Natural Resources, which promptly returned it. And
Awesome. Right, so this is a public hearing for this ordinance, so we will begin by opening that public hearing at 10:39. Public comments, we'll check with staff, anybody online. I didn't expect stuff, but you are due diligence here. All right. Then we would close the public hearing at 10:40. And we would look for a motion in a second before we have discussion for the ordinance change.
Move, Harvey.
Thank you, Commissioner Harvick.
Second, Milbrow.
Thank you, Commissioner Milbrook. Any questions or comments for staff? Hearing none, we'll call the question. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Great. Thank you to staff for making sure we're up to date. All right, then.
We do the CUP as well. No, this was just our bugs.
Yeah, no,
Thanks.
this is our next change to no CUP. This is why I get screwed up. It's like, how do I do it this time?
Yes.
Here we go. Trying to be efficient, but transparent at the same time. All right, well, we are to the administration part of our meeting, and so administration update.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Took a lot of your time this morning already, of course. Thanks for your participation and influence in the work session. Got through a lot of pages of material in a short amount of time, so thank you for your preparedness ahead of time and navigating through that. Preston already did more than I can in terms of a legislative update and review of the session proper for us. So thank you for being here again and the continued advocacy and support along the way. Great wins for the city, of course. Happy that we and yourselves were able to offer some of their own supporting documents for their respective projects as well. So a win in the community is a win for the county. So appreciate your advocacy and support there as well. Still some forward progress and good news on the federal side of things with what we're hearing at the city and the county as well. So we still have 2 or 3 months before things are really formalized there in terms of appropriations and warrants for congressionally directed spending. So we'll still maintain hopefulness there. Opened up our own budget setting process a couple of weeks ago for staff. So staff are going through and starting to update their 2027 numbers. And before you know it, those will be in front of you for discussion and consideration. Still a number of things we're working towards in terms of library services and transitioning some of those elements over to county oversight, if you will. So the Seward County has been a good partner in navigating those conversations as well. But apart from that, I'm happy to entertain any other questions or updates you would like of me. So to take any more of your time today.
Yes.
One quick question off topic. I was receiving a phone call from a constituent in the county about the 3% lodging tax. And I talked to another individual that they had contacted you specifically or the city, I'm not sure. And that 3% lodging tax, as I see it, goes into effect July 1st. And it's only inside the city limits of Waseca.
Right.
Not inside the 2-mile radius, not inside the county, and not in any other municipality in Waseca County. I can find that somewhere.
Can read your facial expression. Yeah, so the city of Waseca, true enough, everything you just said, they implemented a lodging tax, and we've had this question for a few different people. Just because we see Waseca, like, is it city, is it county, is it both? We don't know. So understandable, but it's the city's ordinance 1137 that was kind of the driver of this, and it tells you what specific lodging related services this applies to. We've got to register and all of those things. The state is the one managing and collecting and distributing. If you're interested, there's the statutory precedent for how all of that works as well too. But outside of that, for practical measures, we're going. This is the ordinance that the city actually put forward in recent months, and you are exactly right. That is July 1st that goes into effect. How I read it is in terms of municipal boundaries. There's what may fall outside that lines. I'm sure there's some interest from a rather large resort area in proximity. So I certainly cannot answer to how the city is perceiving this. I have no idea. I've not talked to them directly about it, but I can certainly attest that this is not a county lodging tax. It is a city lodging tax, and the county has had no place in the conversation or the discussion about it.
And that would have taken a JP if it was countywide.
Yes, or something similar.
Okay.
Not necessarily a JPA required, but the county is able to implement a lodging tax. It is not as though we cannot. It's just a municipal boundary can do the same without the county's agreement. And there is a JPA portion in the subdivision 6 that talks about the possibility of that collaboration between municipalities and counties if they want to do that.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Other questions or? All right, then we also want to look at, let's see, human resources update. Melissa isn't here. We got an update in our packet. We're still working on the May list. We mentioned Joe Roger, Joel Flitlet, and Kelly Tomford have some anniversaries with us that either end in 0 or 5. We want to recognize those folks and all our workers that are celebrating anniversaries and thank them for their service to county residents and their collaboration with each other. Community development.
Madam Chair, you've received a community development update yesterday in your inbox. So if you have any questions, happy to entertain those. Otherwise,
Any questions for Michael about it? Otherwise, I read it. Right, then let's go on to Commissioner reports. And Commissioner Hargett, could I start with you?
Certainly. May 5. Board at 9:30. I had at 2 p.m. The Waseca County Historical Society for their grounds and buildings. Wednesday the 6th, Waseca Lakes Association at 7 a.m. I met with Teddy out of Courthouse Park on Friday the 8th. Fair Board meeting, 7 p.m. Monday the 11th. Public Works meeting, Wednesday. I met with Jim at 7 a.m. on the 13th out of the fairgrounds. 6 p.m. on the 13th was the Waseca County Historical Society monthly meeting. And that brings us to this morning's work.
Thank you. Commissioner Christopherson.
To go to Public Works meeting on the 13th.
Yeah, we had it on the 13th at 8 a.m. Remember? 2 minutes, we'll get more through this.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, all right.
Was that was last Wednesday already? Ooh.
Yeah, that was Thursday.
Ooh, good. Okay.
Okay, yeah, the 6th, I had a Cannon River watershed joint powers board meeting. On the 7th, I had South Country Health Alliance. Joint Powers Board. The 11th, we had advisory committee meeting up at Waterville for the community health board. The 12th was a quick little virtual to accept bid for joint ditch 3 improvement project. 13th, then after your public works meeting, I met with Michael and Chris Howard on issue on joint ditch 5. Then on the 15th, I had Kaburba, Friday. That was virtual because it was out in Wyndham. They move around sometimes, and when they get that far out, I just go online with the meeting. On the 18th, yesterday was a long virtual day. Had executive committee for community health board with me, Michael, in the morning. Then right after that, I had MRC legislative update. I did find out in that one that there are other people that had their local option sales tax pulled from the bill. And that individual's comment was, how do we get that chair off of there? Tax committee.
Or 3.
And I guess we just said, well, November will tell the tale, right? That's how we do it, is through elections. So anyway, there was some frustration there also. And then after that, right after that, I got on with the NACO Ag and Rural Affairs Committee, Steering Committee. And then that evening, I went over to Owatonna to Sparrow, our monthly meeting over there. And then this afternoon, I'll have Mid Prairie. Yep.
Commissioner Krause?
Yes. On this Thursday, the 7th, was the Board of Adjustments at 6 and Planning Commission at 7 p.m. And then on the 11th, I continued doing a survey for the Janesville Business Challenge. There's a business challenge going on that award $1,000 to the winning recipient for that business, which will be named later this month, I think. So the first week in June, something like that. So then on the 12th was our 8:30 JD83 meeting, virtual. Then I did some more work with the Janesville EDA that afternoon, and then that evening was Wilton Township at 8 p.m. The 13th was our Public Works meeting in the morning. And the 14th was SWCD at 6:30 that evening. And then on the 15th, being that I'm involved in Green Seed now, they are seem to be starting over. They're still looking for a leader. We had a strategic work session. We started at 8 a.m. in the morning, and we finally quit at 2 p.m. that afternoon. So pretty intense with all the board of directors and staff, just to find a direction and goals of where we want to be. So I'm sure that wasn't the first one, and that one not the last one, I'm sure. So the 18th was MRC, they have to zoom it, and then county extension late afternoon, and that brings us to today.
Thank you, Commissioner Krause. Commissioner Gomez.
Went back to board meeting on the 5th. I took over grandpa duty for about a week there because of the new one in the family.
Congratulations.
And then that Thursday night, I did have Waseca Foundation Awards. The 12th, I had tourism meeting. The 16th, I had coffee with the commissioner. And Monday, I had extension. And then MBAC that evening. It brings us to the work session and board meeting today.
Since we met on the 5th, I attended joint leadership team for public health up in St. Paul on the 6th. The 7th. I did what I want. And on the 8th, I had a one-on-one with Michael late morning to talk about some of the things that we've seen recently and to debrief and catch up on a couple of things. So that was awesome. As always, Michael's well prepared and has a lot of plans to move us forward. On the 11th, we had advisory committee for the Waseca Community Health Board in Waterville. Then I tuned into AMC's Lunch and Learn on understanding public health nuisances. And it's recorded. If you're interested, because we just passed a public health nuisance ordinance or revisited it recently here. It was a very good presentation and worth listening to. One of the northern counties talked about their process and how they do it and the interdepartmental way that they go about that. It's really interesting. On the 11th, I had a library board meeting late afternoon over in Montgomery and then stopped at the city of Janesville after that. On the 12th, nothing on the 12th. Let's see, the 13th, I did an online meeting first thing in the morning to get ready for the Shack Executive Committee meeting. That was the next day. Then I made my way up to Wilmer to the LPHA Opioid Settlement Idea Conference, which was great. But I ended up only staying for part of it because there was some stuff that needed to be signed in a timely fashion. So I made my way back to the county here, got that done before the end of the day. On the 14th, I listened in on a department head meeting. And one of the privileges of being a chair is to be able to catch up and keep up with what the departments are doing and hear how that's going. And so that was awesome. Then I had an online meeting at for the Shack Executive Committee, and I did that virtually actually up at AMC because I traveled up there early in the morning for AMC Futures, and AMC Futures and other commissioners also went over the Capitol. Well, I didn't get to see Tom. I at least got to exchange text messages with him, and he very kindly provided some updates real time, which I super appreciated. I feel very welcome at the Capitol when we have friendly faces there. We appreciate it. Friday, the 15th was Futures. Futures continued in the morning. We had interesting conversations there, as we always do, and had some great training. Yesterday was a full day. Waseca County Collaborative for Families meeting first thing in the morning over at the Central Building. And that went well. Our Nicole Grams coordinates that and has done a fabulous job getting our documents in order. Nice compliments from other partner organizations in there about the work she's doing. So want to recognize that. Then I signed on for the AMC legislative update when I got home. And right after that, we had a CHB executive committee meeting. And shortly after that, I had a staff leadership MVH support staff planning meeting. And right after that, I made my way over to the community services building to visit with Sarah and other staff about some work we're doing in that we're considering in the area of tobacco and vapes. And then here we are this morning for a work session and a board meeting. I've got inquiry finance this afternoon. That will be followed by a board meeting. And also there's a meeting, which I probably won't get to, over in Waldorf to celebrate our food co-op efforts are starting to come to fruition. Jim Borboom has been a great leader there. And the Waseca food co-op effort is now officially a legal entity. So that's the next step to moving down the road, and now we can engage further with the public. And I would ask commission members, Jim is looking for more voices there, not necessarily you, but if you have ideas about folks who would have some enthusiasm for this, we need to expand that volunteer base there. Jim's been doing a great job driving it, but anybody who might have a passion for food co-op, local food, we've had a lot of interaction with local producers. And if you got ideas of names, Jim would really appreciate recommending people over there. It's a great effort. All right, that's what I got.
Madam Chair, may I alibi an earlier comment?
Yes.
Like the news. So what, with regard to our famous green screens that we've been dealing with, we actually spent a lot of time within the committees to make sure that we fund additional technology, but it doesn't necessarily go straight through human services because then it never gets to the counties. This will be funding to the counties to replace those green screens and upgrade from the bottom up. And I can't wait to hear the feedback once that starts moving. So thank you for the opportunity to alibi that.
Thank you. That is a huge win for counties.
Absolutely it is.
And the partnership between the state and counties is essential. So thank you so much for being such a thoughtful partner in that. Awesome.
And
We're listening.
Big Glenn, you mentioned this a little bit earlier, Representative, but to actually call out local road improvement program and local road and bridge program by those names was, I know, a comfort to many people. What a good amount of funding behind it as well.
Right. Awesome. Wonderful. All right. We are at the end of our agenda. Unless there is something else, I would look for a motion to adjourn.
So last thing, Madam Chair, sorry,
Oh,
but
no,
Scott
that's
just
okay.
sent this to me a few minutes ago. I'm hoping, sure, so tomorrow, she apologized for the late notice, but just letting you know it's happening and that's getting it included in her quote calendar.
Oh, okay. Awesome. Law enforcement appreciation event. Yay.
Sergeant Spellman.
Yeah.
There it is.
The what?
Sergeant Spellman.
It's one of those words.
Yeah.
All right. I do have a motion to adjourn by Commissioner Christopherson. Have a look for a second. Second by Krause. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say. All right, we are adjourned.